For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Wiliam Boor, does such great work over at Action Network. We're going to be chatting with him about what he's all seen here in the early part of the MLB season. Additionally, we're going to dive in on some games on Sunday, some of the teams that he's feeling bullish / bearish on as now we're in the middle of the month of June. And then in the final segment, get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, name does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter /X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. Over at EdgeBoost.bet, they're making sure that bettors are able to access the funds that they want to whenever and wherever. When you go to EdgeBoost.bet, make sure to type in the promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G, as that'll get you $1 for $1 match on your first $25 deposit as well. So how about if we do dive in and take a look at everything that we saw in baseball on Saturday, try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Your top over team in all of baseball actually played an under as the Athletics get a 4-0 win on the road against the Kansas City Royals. And all of a sudden for the A's, they've been able to get a little bit hot after things were very, very chilly for this team. As for the Athletics, you have to give a little bit of credit where it is due. They have went, I believe, now 6-4 in their last 10 games after they had a 1-20 stretch. And credit where it is due to one Mr. Jacob Lopez. 9 punch-outs and 6 scoreless innings. You had Michael Kelly give you 2 scoreless innings, and Hogan Harris was a Hogan hero. He was able to give you a scoreless inning, pair of home runs in this one for the A's. As off of Daniel Lynch, you had Lawrence Butler get his 10th home run season, and Michael Lorenzen serves one up to Max Muncy, other Max Muncy, 5th home run season. Lorenzen wasn't terrible, wasn't great, 3 runs allowed in 6 innings. Lynch gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Jonathan Bolin, he was rolling and bowling for 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Steven Cruz, a scoreless inning, but nothing doing at the plate for the Royals. They're averaging less than 3.1 runs per game at home this season, and the Cubs, they've been averaging a lot of offense this season, but they played an under as well, 2-1. They take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yeah, Mike Burrows give you a good start, 1 run allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Ryan Barucki gives up a home run in 2/3 of an inning as Dansby Swanson, 13th home run of the season. From there, you had Braxton Ashcraft, not be a load of Ashcraft, 2 scoreless innings out of him. And for the Pirates, they had an inning number 1, Andrew McCutchen get his 7th home run season. Solo shot off of Matthew Boyd, and for Matthew Boyd, that's all you would give up over the course of 6 innings. That was the lone hit that he gave up. Ryan Presley, Drew Pomeranz, and Daniel Palencia from there, all on his scoreless inning, though Presley gave up 3 hits in his inning of work, but he was able to wriggle his way out. You had the Miami Marlins take it to the Washington Nationals 4-3, the finalists. Nats are now 10 games below 500. This is getting less than savory for them as AC Sanchez, he was able to go deep off of Brad Lord. Oh, Lord, that was the 6th home run in the campaign after Trevor Williams. Not a bad start here. 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Lord gives up that home run in his inning of work. Jose Ferrer, Zach Brzezinski combined for 3 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Eduardo Salazar, an unearned run, give it up in 2/3 of an inning. And you did have the Lotus give you a scoreless inning in Ryan Lotus, but for Washington, just 2 of 10 with men in scoring position. And for Miami, the piecemeal game was pretty solid with Jackson Junk being able to give you a good start. Jansen Junk, 5 2/3 innings scoreless, so he was anything but a load of junk. Gabe Gibson, the opener, give up a run in his inning of work, but Ryan Enriquez, Anthony Veziano, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Kelvin Fauché got the final out of the game for the save, and you had Anthony Bender give up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, but the team was able to persevere and get the job done. Also persevering and get the job done, the Atlanta Braves, 4-1 the final. As for the Colorado Rockies, 45 losses now by multiple runs. No other National League team has 45 total losses. Yeah, not great to say the least, as Chase Dollander, he gave up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 6 innings. Not amazing, not terrible. He gives one up, a home run to Ronald Acuna Jr., 7th home run in the campaign, and he has been magnificent. And How about magnificent for Spencer Strider? Team had been 0-5 in its first 5 starts, 13 strikeouts in 6 scoreless innings. Rafael Montero, 2 scoreless innings. Dylan Lee gives up a run in his inning of work, but still is able to protect that run line, as you did have Anthony Molina provide two scoreless innings for the Colorado Rockies as well. So yay verily, and yay verily to the Cincinnati Reds and their offense. 11-1. They take it to the Detroit Tigers, as for the Redlegs, they did a nice job of getting on Captain Jack Flaherty. He gives up 3 home runs, 7 runs in total in 4 2/3 innings. John Brebbia gives up a home run, 3 runs in total in his inning of work. Did have Brendan Hennefy lend a scoreless inning. Matt Gage got 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then you went all the way down to the position player. A run given up an inning by a backup catcher in Jacob Rogers. And for Detroit, absolutely nothing doing at the plate as Brady Singer. Really nice start. He had this thing singing and humming. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan, Lyon Richardson, all on the scoreless inning. And then in terms of his bombs, Spencer Sear, his 5th home run season. Ellie De La Cruz, his 15th. Matt McLean, his 8th home run of the campaign. And Robert Stevenson was able to go deep. That was home run number 6 of the campaign for him. The St. Louis Cardinals were able to take it to the Milwaukee Brewers, this by a count of 8-5. As for the Brewers, it was too little too late, as he had Wilson and William Contreras both go deep in this game for their respective teams. For William Contreras in the 9th inning, off of Rob Zanofsky, his 9th home run season. Earlier on in the game, off of Jose Quintana, Nolan Gorman gets his 4th home run in the campaign as Quintana. I expected some regression, and boy did he regress. 7 runs, 5 of which were earned and given up in 4 1/3 innings. Zanofsky gives up that solo home run in his inning work. DL turned it all. Paul, 2 scoreless innings. Grant Anderson, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. And for Contreras, he went deep in the 9th inning when it was too little too late off of Ryan Helsley. 6th home run in the campaign. Not great for Helsley. Gives up that solo home run in his inning work. And Andre 3000 Palante wasn't great either. 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up in 4 1/3 innings. But from there, the bullpen was able to hold down the fort. Kyle Leahy is able to get 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Phil Matone, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And you also were able to get a pair of outs from Jojo Romero, as you also were able to get a nice over and a nice W from the Tampa Bay Rays, as they do get the job done against the New York Mets, this by a count of 8-4. As for the Mets, they just had a few errors that really costed them, as you had in this one Tyler McGill go out there and give up 6 runs, only 3 of which were earned. He had his own fielding error hurt him, so I do think they should be credited with those runs, but still you had Joey Castillo from there give up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. Jose Buto, 2 scoreless inning. Justin Garza, Ryan Stanek, they both under scoreless inning. And for Mr. McGill, he does give up a home run to Junior Caminero, 16th home run of the campaign. Drew Rasmussen does allow 2 home runs, 4 runs in total, of course, with 5 innings. Says you had home run number 8 of the season for Brett Beatty and Ronnie Mauricio, who I really like, his 2nd home run of the campaign. And from there, the Rays bullpen goes to work. Kevin Kelly, a scoreless inning. Mason Engler, 2 scoreless innings. And Cole Sulzer, Garrett Clevenger, they do a nice job piecemealing together a scoreless inning. The Astros, they piecemeal together a 3-2 win over the Minnesota Twins. As for the Twins, Joe Ryan gives up a home run, just 2 runs in 7 innings. Both starting pitchers gave up either 2 or 3 hits, but gave up 2 runs because they allowed bombs. Ynier Diaz for the Houston Astros, his 9th home run in the campaign. For Brown, 12 punch-outs, gives up 3 hits and 2 runs, as he allowed a home run to Brooks Lee, his 6th home run in the campaign. And then from there, for the Twins, Griffin Jacks, a scoreless inning, but Yohan Adon, he gets up the game-winning hit, as it was Cam Smith who was able to get an RBI single, as Brian Abreu, Josh Hader both be able to give you a scoreless inning to be able to get that one to the window for Houston. Being able to get to the window as well was the Walker Texas Rangers. Took 11 innings, though, 5-4 the final. For the White Sox, Mike Vasil, who is coming out of the bullpen to make starts, did walk 4 in 4 innings, but 4 innings of scoreless baseball. From there, the bullpen had its issues. Steven Wilson, a scoreless inning. Brandon Eisert does give up a run, though, in a 1/3 of an inning. You did have 2 runs given up in an inning of work from Mr. Grant Taylor, and you also had from there a lot of unearned runs in the extra innings, as Joey Leisure gives up an unearned run in 2/3 of an inning, and Tyler Alexander does go 3 innings in extras, only gives up 1 unearned run, but offense wasn't able to do a lot for him. Cam Boucher, also a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And for the Walker Texas Rangers, you had in this one Jacob deGrom give up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. Caleb Belsley allows a run in an inning. Luke Jackson gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Hobie Milner, scoreless inning. Robert Garcia, scoreless inning. And then Jacob Latz, to his credit, he was able to come up with scoreless 10th and 11th innings, as the Rangers win this game despite leaving 17 men on base and going 4 of 23 with men in scoring position. So that was a Herculean feat right there. The Philadelphia Phillies, not such a Herculean feat, but they do get the job done by a count of 3-2. As for the Phillies, you were able to get a home run off the bat of Max Kepler. For Kepler, his 8th home run of the campaign, that comes off of Chad Green. And for Bowden Francis, he was not long for this game. 2 runs given up in 3 2/3 innings, but was able to reduce the damage. You have Brandon Little along with Braden Fisher, both on the scoreless inning. Uriel Rodriguez rots out the bullpen scoreless, and then Green gives up that home run in his inning work. As for the Blue Jays, not a lot going for them, as Cadet Sefer Sanchez gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 innings. Orion Kirkering, Matt Strom are both able to end a scoreless inning. A lot doing for the Baltimore Orioles. 6-5, they're able to take down the LA Angels. This despite the fact that the Angels had a trio of home runs. Luis Ranifa had 1 home run all season long. He now has 3 as he's able to go deep for home runs number 2 and 3 of the campaign, going deep off of Andrew Kittredge along Keegan Aiken, and then off of the starter Tomayuku Sugano, you had Mike Trout get his 11th home run of the campaign. Sugano gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Aiken goes for 1 1/3 innings, gives up his home run. Andrew Kittredge, 2/3 of an inning, he allows his home run. Sir Anthony Dominguez, Felix Batista, both on the scoreless inning, and then Brian Baker, he was able to get an out of the bullpen. As for the Baltimore Orioles, pair of home runs of their own. Cedric Mullins, 11th home run of the season. That comes off of Mr. Tyler Anderson, and Anderson gives one up to Gary Sanchez, his first home run of the campaign, as the regression of Tyler Anderson is now very real. 6 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Credit to the bullpen as Hector Neris, Sam Bachman, and Hunter Strickland all ended scoreless inning, but very much too little too late there, and you're able to get not a lot of offense from this team, but you know what, it looks like they're going to be able to get the job done here, as I do have to do this before the show cashing out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and that is going to be going on from 11 p.m. Eastern Time to 2 a.m., so I had to record this more around about 9:30 p.m. Eastern, but as of right now, the Red Sox are holding the Yankees scoreless by a count of 4-0, as Hunter Dobbins has lent a really good start, 6 scoreless innings for 82 pitches, and for the New York Yankees, now what they were hoping for out of Carlos Rodon, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, as Yuri De Los Santos has come into the game from there. Currently, the Diamondbacks are taking it to the Padres, but they're threatening in the 7th inning, this by a count of 3-1, as for the Pods, you had Ryan Burgeon give up 3 runs in 5 innings, including a home run for Arizona, and Eugenio Suarez, 20th home run of the campaign, and Zach Allen, who's really struggled this year, gives up in 6 1/3 innings just a sole home run, as going deep off of him, it was Gavin Sheets for his 12th home run in the campaign, and we have a TBD with regards to the Seattle Mariners and the Cleveland Guardians game, along with Giants and Dodgers, so I'll look to clean those up if time allows, but that said, if you're taking a look trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, over the last 7 days, things have evened out a little bit more with regards to totals, as it's been a very underwhelming season, but 44 overs to 42 unders with a few games pending for Saturday, and the moneyline favorites are hitting big time. 57 and 31 on the money line. Meanwhile, if you take a look at season to date, more of a 57.9% hit rate for the favorite. 603 and 438 on the money line. Meanwhile, under rate is at 53.2%, 535 unders to 471 overs. So that's where we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat with one of our good friends, Wiliam Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Wiliam Boor aboard. He does such tremendous work over at Action Network, taking a look at so many different things. I know that over there they cover a little bit of everything. If you want football, they got football, baseball, basketball. Heck, in a few weeks, we're probably going to be having odds on hot dog eating competitions, and they'll have that as well for the 4th of July. So they do a great job on that front. You're able to follow Wiliam on Twitter/X at the letter W. Last name spelled Boor, B-O-O-R. And Wiliam, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on and talk some baseball with you, and hot dogs and anything you want.
Absolutely. I don't know how many hot dogs are going to be eaten on this podcast today, but I can tell you right now, what we are diving into is a whole heck of a lot of just general baseball. And it does feel like we've got a lot of good divisional races that are going to be going down really across the league, because I don't look at really any of these divisions and think that there's one clear runaway winner, like even in the AL East with the way that we've seen the Blue Jays and the Rays and teams like that be able to rise up. I think that we've got a lot of good races here for the summer.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the one that I would maybe not quite call yet, but the one that doesn't fit in that category is probably the AL Central. Tigers look really good. But otherwise, the rest of the divisions, like you said, you can definitely make a case for all the teams in second, whether that's the Blue Jays or the Rays. If you go to the West, like the AL West, the Astros are leading, but you can definitely make a case for the Mariners with their pitching. The NL East, like you can't count on a team as talented as the Phillies. And then the obvious one is the race in the NL West, where you've got the Dodgers and the Giants tied at time of recording. The Padres only 2 back. The Diamondbacks only 5.5 back. We can probably write off the Rockies, but 4 or 5, that's a very good division.
Yeah, absolutely. The odds that the Colorado Rockies win the NL West are the same odds that I am named the Prince of Wales. That is not going to be happening, to say the least. But other than that, it's been pretty rock solid. And I mean, obviously, the Rockies being awful has been the biggest trend in all of baseball. If you've been fading the Rockies this year, you made a lot of money. But what are some of the other things that you've been taking a look at this season that have been working out for you?
I think the Tigers being for real, I kept kind of waiting for them to fade. I kind of thought it was like a hot start, and that September of last year, September, October, were kind of a mirage, but I'm definitely in on them now. I still haven't decided if they're a playoff team or kind of a 162 team, with the exception of Skubal. Like, he's obviously can shut down anyone. I'm not necessarily sure where the offense comes from in the playoffs. They don't really have a traditional star. They just have a bunch of good players, which I guess could work. So I'm not sure I feel on them in the playoffs, but as a regular season team and in the AL Central, definitely in on the Tigers. Starting to lose hope on the Braves. Definitely thought that it was a slow start, but they'd get back into it. But they're still 8 games under 500, which means that if you take out that 0-8, 0-9, whatever start, they've basically just been a 500 team all year, which, is fine. But I definitely had bigger expectations for them going into the year. So that's kind of disappointing. And then I think just otherwise, any baseball fans got to be just watching this NL West and kind of focus on this for the next year. I think this is a division that's going to come down to the wire, and it's definitely going to come down to the trade deadline, because I don't think any of these teams are going to stand pat.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think that what we're going to be seeing at the trade deadline in about a month and a half or so is going to be so interesting as well, because I just take a look at the middle of the league, and we mentioned it. I mean, it does feel like a lot of these divisions are up for grabs. You mentioned the AL Central. That's right now the only one where the team in the lead has more than a 5-game lead entering into Saturday, but I mean, we've got a lot of teams that are hovering right around 500. Pretty much every team in the NL Central, not named the Pittsburgh Pirates, probably going to be looking to make a move. Every team in the AL Central, not named the Chicago White Sox, looking to make a move. Teams like the Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays, Seattle Mariners, Texas Rangers. We just go down the list. There's so many 500 teams, and what happens this next month or so, I think, is going to be paramount for that trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to come down to probably the week or two before that trade deadline. There's going to be someone that, goes 4-6 in the 10 games before the deadline. And if the team they're chasing goes 7-3, 8-2, I mean, I think decisions might be made in those 7 to 10 games, because, like you said, these are really tight right now.
Yep, absolutely. As Wiliam Boor does such great work over at Action Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And I am so glad that you mentioned the Detroit Tigers a little bit before, how good they've been. And right now I'm seeing an additional opener at FanDuel with regards to the game that we're going to be seeing on Sunday, as right now they are finding themselves as pretty good sized favorites against the Cincinnati Reds. It is going to be Sawyer Gipson-Long who's going to be going for them. How do you take a look at this game for Sunday, with it being Wade Miley, who actually had a good last start for the Cincinnati Reds, going on the bump for them on Sunday, with right now I'm seeing the Tigers at a minus 184.
184 is a lot for Sawyer Gipson-Long. Do I think the Tigers are better than the Reds? Yes. Do they probably win? Yes. But 184 for, a non-Skubal or maybe Flaherty, depending on the matchup. But 184 for Sawyer Gipson-Long just seems like a lot. That said, I don't necessarily want to back Miley against the Tigers. This one's probably a pass, or maybe a total play once I look at it further, but probably not going to lay the 184.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this question needs to be begged as well because I've asked it all throughout the podcast all season long. Now, this is a FanDuel opener and a FanDuel opener only. The Atlanta Braves are a minus 490 favorite with it being Austin Gomber going up against Chris Sale. I don't know if there's any way to bet this game whatsoever other than perhaps a total of 8.5, but my goodness, with how bad the Rockies are, these games are completely unbettable because you can't lay a minus 490 on the money line. Heck, you're laying minus $2 on the minus 1.5 run line with the home team, but at the same time, I want absolutely no part of the Colorado Rockies doing anything good whatsoever.
Minus 400 is insane.
It's closer to minus $5.
This is baffling. If you're going to bet this, I think you need to either same game parlay it with like the Braves run line and the over or something to get the juice, or just go into the alt and do Braves minus, I don't even know, is 2.5, like minus 150 still. You might need to go like Braves minus 3, Braves minus 2.5, or you do like Braves minus 1.5 parlayed with like Acuna to homer or something like that. I'm never gonna bet the Rockies on like the money line, but like you also just can't lay $5 on a money line in a baseball game. It makes no sense. If you need an extra leg to like qualify for a FanDuel or a DraftKings boost or something, I guess you can like throw it on there with NBA Finals on Monday or something like that. But just on its own, it's really hard to do anything under that unless you, like I said, Braves minus 2.5 or something like that.
Yeah, just absolutely insane. That has to be the first time I've ever seen a minus 490 money line. I've seen minus $4. We've seen a few minus 450s. I've never seen minus 490. So that's a lot of good, clean family fun right there. As Wiliam Boor does such great work over at Action Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. We do also have Yankees versus Red Sox, where we don't have a money line of minus 490, but we do have a mismatch. Max Fried is going to be going for the New York Yankees, and Brian Bayo is on the bump for the Red Sox, and the Yankees are about minus 194 on the money line here. How do you take a look at this? Because I honestly feel like Max Fried has been a little bit undervalued this year with regards to things like the Cy Young market. At the same time, too, I do think that in Yankees versus Red Sox, once you get up to past minus 190 on whichever team's favorite, it just goes too far with this rivalry itself.
It's hard to lay a ton of juice in this rivalry, but that said, like Max Fried is throwing the ball really, really well this year. It's hard to go against him. This rivalry's fun. Boston, kind of weird park. Maybe you want to look for an over. Maybe some stuff gets interesting there. But otherwise, I'm probably just going to bet back the Yankees. It's hard to go against Fried where we're in mid-June and he's got a sub-2 ERA. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, if we can get like closer to a minus 110, minus 115 run line, that's what I'd be taking a look at myself, because don't want to necessarily Jones lay north of minus 190 here. At the same time, I would need a pretty good plus number to take a shot on the Red Sox, and we're just not quite there yet. And I want to get your thoughts on this team, the Kansas City Royals, and just how to bet them, because at home this year, they're averaging about 3.1 runs per game, but yet somehow, someway, here they are hanging right around 500. They've gotten great pitching. They've gotten no power hitting whatsoever. When it comes to the game on Sunday, we're going to see them as a pretty sizable favorite against the old Sacramento A's. But that said, how do you take a look at a spot like this where the Royals, I'm seeing right now on Sunday at a minus 146, which to me actually seems like good value?
I'm with you. Definitely like the Royals at that number. I'm not a big Springs fan. He's had some okay starts this year, but nothing crazy. He definitely has blow up potential, which, you definitely want if you're betting the other team. He's given up 3 earned runs in each of his past 2 starts, actually 3 or more in 4 straight starts. So you're okay there. You trust the Royals pitching. I know the A's have a good offense, but if they can get 3 off Springs and 1 or 2 off the bullpen, I think Kansas City can hold Oakland under 3, under 4. And I definitely like the Royals in this spot.
With Noah Cameron, too, he's not necessarily some sort of strikeout artist or anything like that, but really good start to his career. Did have a little bit of a rough start against the New York Yankees a few nights ago, but all in all, he's been able to do a rock-solid job. And, we're talking a lot about these teams are hovering right around 500. Is there one or two that is sort of in that 500 range that we were talking about before? They might be buyers, they might be sellers at the trade deadline. It's going to come down to the next few weeks that you are feeling a little bit bullish on and you think could be able to emerge here in the summer months.
Well, maybe I'm just being a homer because I live in Phoenix, but the Arizona Diamondbacks, I know we're recording before Saturday's game, so when people have heard this, maybe they blew this, but 4-game winning streak right now, have won 7 of their past 10. That division's tough, and that bullpen is depleted. They are getting crushed with the injury bug. So I think not only are they going to be buyers because they're aggressive and they're around 500 and they need it, but also just because they need to have 25 men on the roster right now. And that bullpen, that pitching staff is getting crushed by injuries. So I definitely think they're going to go out and try and add a reliever or two and shore that back end up and then see what happens. Big series with the Padres this weekend. So that could, swing a game or two and maybe push them back up into third and see what happens.
Hey, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that game because the Diamondbacks on Sunday, I'm right now seeing an opener of -120 with it being Merrill Kelly against Nick Pivetta. Really interesting one because Pivetta has really struggled when he's been away from San Diego, and you know this as well as I do. Merrill Kelly, throughout his entire career with the Diamondbacks, has been a much better pitcher at home rather than on the road.
Yeah, so I just mentioned that the Diamondbacks as a team are playing well, but if you want to go just strictly into Merrill Kelly, 15 strikeouts over 13 scoreless innings in his past 2 starts. The start before that, so 3 starts back, he gave up 6 runs, but he's put up nothing but zeros over his past 2 starts. And he's obviously shown this in the past. I think this is something that you should keep an eye on. If he has figured something out, made any sort of tweak, or just, gotten into a rhythm, this could be dangerous and Arizona could start making a run.
Yep, absolutely. And is there anything else that is really standing out to you, whether that be the games that we've got for Sunday or just something that maybe you're looking at a little bit more on the futures board?
Sunday, I'm looking at the Nationals. I know playing the Marlins, so, not that exciting to tune in if you've got Father's Day plans, I understand. But Kenzie Gore, 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 straight starts and in 10 of 14 starts on the season. He's throwing the ball really well, going under the radar because he is on the Nationals. Depending on the price, I'll be on the Nationals, but otherwise, he's just kind of been fun to watch pitch on the year. And then obviously we talked Yankees, Red Sox earlier, but we've got another great rivalry in Giants-Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. That'll be fun to watch just in general. And then this is another one where, depending on the number, I might find myself on the over here. Dustin May, Kyle Harrison both have blow-up potential. I wouldn't be shocked. They can both be really good at times, but I also wouldn't be shocked if either of them, gives up 5 runs in 2 innings. Harrison on the road, Dodger Stadium, that rivalry, young pitcher. If he gives up 3 runs in the first inning to that Dodgers lineup, I don't think anyone would be shocked. So I think that'll be a game to watch and probably a total to keep an eye on as well.
Yep, I am right there with you. With Kyle Harrison, he has been quite shaky thus far this season. One guy that I really don't trust in right now for the Giants, and that entire Giants bullpen, by the way, has been absolutely superb. They are number 1 in terms of bullpen area, so a lot of credit there. And a man that is right there towards the top in terms of putting out their great insights, doing an amazing job, gauging this great game of baseball. That'd be you, Wiliam. Love to get people to know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR, and in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. If you don't just want to follow me or my bets, make sure to check out actionnetwork.com. We've got absolutely everything. We've got betting guides on pretty much every baseball game every day, WNBA, NBA Finals, NHL. We've got the Club World Cup. If you're a big soccer fan, we're going to be covering that over the next couple of weeks. And as Greg alluded to at the top, we will have hot dog betting odds if you want to dive into that market coming up on the 4th of July. And one last thing, I looked this up while we were talking. In 2019, the Houston Astros were a -521 favorite against the Angels.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a long time ago at the height of the powers of the Astros. So that is a good pull right there. We have a -490 right now. Who knows? Maybe we do get -$5 when it's all said and done on the Atlanta Braves for Sunday because, man, this Rockies team is rough, but a man that smooths everything out is Wiliam. A big thanks to Wiliam Boor for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, We have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Wiliam Boor. He does such great work over at Action Network. Take a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such amazing insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Wiliam for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So what if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board? The Colorado Rockies are on the road. They're facing off against the Atlanta Braves. It was supposed to be Chris Sale going on the bump. That was who we were projecting when I was doing my interview with Wiliam Boor. Now it is going to be Grant Holmes on the bump for the Atlanta Braves, and you know that you are getting for the Colorado Rockies the first start of the year for Austin Gomber. Oops, on Kate Gombered up. This was originally minus $4 on the Atlanta Braves. Circa has just put out a new opener of minus 334 with it being Holmes. You've got plus 290 on the Colorado Rockies, and the total was 8 across the board with Chris Sale. It is now 8.5 with the over at a minus 120 at Circa and the under at even. And I'm going to take a shot on that under. The run line is minus 159 with the Braves, with it being Grant Holmes on the bump. I did set mine at a minus 188, so I am very willing to take that run line, and I'm very willing to take the under, as I did set my total at a 7.9. For Grant Holmes, has it been a little bit shaky for him? Absolutely, but at the same time, this is a Colorado Rockies team that's averaging 2.5 runs per game, and they're hitting below the Mendoza line when they are on the road. Even if you try to take a look at, the last 2 weeks, the Rockies have been a little bit better on offense. Well, in their last 12 games on the road, away from Coors Field, they've scored 30 runs. 30, so that's an average of 2.5 runs per game, right at their season average. For Grant Holmes, he's been able to do a rock-solid job in terms of holding down the fort. 3 runs of fear allowed at each of his last 5 starts. Is he like some sort of an incredible pitcher? Nobody gets swings and misses. 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 407 ERA, 468 fielding, dependent, as he does allow 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, but other than Hunter Goodman, who does have 8 home runs this season on the road for the Colorado Rockies, nobody else is generating that power. They have, as a team, outside of Hunter Goodman, a combined 20 home runs on the road in 36 games. Just so many guys that when they're away from home, they're hitting at or below the Mendoza line of 200. Brenton Doyle, Ryan McMahon, Orlando Arcia. You're able to throw in there just so many of these guys, like a Kyle Farmer and company. These guys have just done a nothing burger whatsoever. Ryan Ritter is a guy that they're looking for a little bit of upside. He doesn't look to be too promising. They bring in Thairo Estrada, who's been able to hit a 255, but a 263 on base. That's both home and road. And for the Rockies, the one saving grace that the team did have was a bullpen, but all of a sudden things are really starting to regress for them. Victor Vodnik does have a sub-4 ERA since coming off the injury list, so that helps him out a little bit. But Zach Ognos, Tyler Kinley, they're both posting up well north of 5 ERA. Jimmy Erget along Jake Bird have been pretty solid, especially Bird, who's giving you a 2 ERA. But Ryan Rollison is starting to regress. Seth Alverson is having a rough time with it. And for the Atlanta Braves, we recall a few weeks ago, this was a bullpen that was really going through it. Desbel Hernandez going on the injury list did hurt the seam a little bit, but you saw plenty of guys are able to do a rock-solid job and are able to hold down the fort. They did use up Dylan Lee yesterday. He was giving you a sub-250 ERA, but Aaron Bummer, not pitching like a bummer. He's been able to give you about a 3 ERA. You've had your issues with the closer in Rossio Iglesias. He has not been great, to say the least. And Pierce Johnson, a little bit up and down, but how about Ronald Acuna Jr.? 7 home runs in his first 19 games of the season, giving you well north of 4 on base. This guy has been amazing since coming off the injury list. Austin Riley, 12 home runs, hitting about a 280 on base percentage. Not necessarily great. Same goes for Drake Baldwin, who's hitting at 287. Both of these guys right around about a 335 on base, but Marcell Ozuna up to about a 386 on base. He had a home run in this series a little bit earlier. He's got 11 bombs for the season. Matt Olson leading the way with 14 home runs. He's giving you now about a 250 average. He's starting to rise up there. Could use a little bit more of Ozzy Albies, Michael Harris, but on all, the Atlanta Braves should absolutely put hammer to nail to a guy in Austin Gomber is making his first start of the season now. In his minor league rehab appearances, total 12 innings, sub-3 ERA. That includes some appearances over there for the Albuquerque Isotopes, and the PCL is not an easy league to pitch in, but for his career, he's given up darn near 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, less than 7 strikeouts per 9. Last year at a 4.75 ERA. He's always pitched a little bit better away from home, but I don't think that he's going to give you a lot of length or a lot of performance here in his first start of the campaign. So did set my total at 7.9. I like the under, and with the Atlanta Braves, I'm going to be looking at them on the run line. 903, 904 on the betting board. Got the Miami Marlins on the road against the Washington Nationals. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Nats, and Eury Perez is on the bump for Miami. Miami is a plus 150 to a plus 158 underdog, minus 170 to minus 178. That number on Washington. 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 7.5, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 8, under is between minus 115 to minus 120. The over is anywhere between even and minus 105. And with regards to the run line in this case, you're going to be finding the Washington Nationals being able to get a modest plus number. If you lay a run half at a plus 116, I would need closer to a plus 133. And if we could get a plus 154 or higher on the Marlins, and I'm starting to see those pop up, I'm going to take a shot on them. Eury Perez had a disastrous third inning going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates in his first start of the season, but still, the youngest starting pitcher out there in all of baseball. He's got some good swing and miss stuff. If you look back to what he was able to do in 2023 before going down with injury, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and to his credit, against the Pirates, he did have 5 strikeouts in the 3 innings that he did pitch, so I do think that the come up is going to be here for him, and I do think that he's going to be able to do a solid job against a Washington Nationals team that seems to be really regressing with their lineup, because for the Nationals, they actually busted out and looked really good for a period out there in the month of May. They were actually a top 7 team with regards to runs per game, but all of a sudden it's starting to go down the toilet bowl as you've got James Wood giving you good wood. He's been able to give you 16 home runs, north of a 370 on base. CJ Abrams is up to 8 bombs. He's hitting at 275. And Ahmed Rosario, Alex Call, hitting between about 270 to 275. These guys have been pretty rock solid, but Keeper Ruiz doesn't hit for power, and he's not necessarily move line. You currently have Dylan Cruz on the injured list. That's actually not a bad thing. Josh Bell has been able to give you 9 home runs, but he's only hitting a $181, so it's been a little bit touch and go. Nathaniel Lowe, 8+ home runs, but he's not hitting for a ton of average either. And then for the Miami Marlins, it's been a case where you've gotten guys to be able to move line, as you've had Liam Hicks, who's been able to give you about a 280 average. AC Sanchez has now given you about a 340 on base. You've had a few guys be in and out of the fold. You're now getting back Dave Myers, who's sitting at 320, so that's been really nice for them. Xavier Edwards has been really the leadoff man for the team this season. He got the day off yesterday, and Augustin Ramirez could use a little bit more than the 288 on base, but he's been able to give you 8 home runs. And then Kyle Stowers up to 10 home runs, 345 on base. Both of these teams are very suspect in the bullpen, but I mean, it's even worse for the Washington Nationals, as you've got 2 guys that you're able to trust in, Cole Henry along Kyle Finnegan. These 2 guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, and then from there you've got someone like an Eduardo Salazar, who's got north of a 7 ERA. You've got nothing whatsoever out of Jose Ferrer with nearly a 6 ERA. Jackson Rutledge is going down the toilet bowl, so that's stopping great to say the least. And for the Miami Marlins, they did have to use up quite a bit of their bullpen yesterday, but I mean, Ronnie Enriquez is a long guy that's able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively good innings out of someone like a Lake Bakar recently, who he had a really rough start to the season, but seems to be coming back up to earth a little bit more, like a 450 ERA. You've been able to get some good innings as well out of the likes of an Anthony Bender, who's been able to give you a sub 265 ERA as well. So I do think that there's a little bit of value here with Perez, even though I do think that Mackenzie Gore is going to be able to go out there and he is going to be able to give a really nice performance. As for Mr. Gore, he has posted up a 288 ERA, fielding pennant more than the neighbor of a 263 with 12.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, only allowing 1 home run and 2.4 walks per 9 innings, and has allowed a combined 5 runs over the course of his last 5 starts. I think that Gore goes out there, gives you a good start, but then from there you've got the bullpen issues of the Nationals that really causes things to be a little bit overwhelming. So my total at an 8.1, so do like the over, and at a plus 154 higher, I like the Marlins on the money line. 9-5, 9-6 on the betting board. You've got Miles Michaelis and the St. Louis Cardinals on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. As for the Brewers, it is old Quinn Pricer, and the Brewers find themselves as a small size favorite, anywhere between minus 117 to a minus 126, and between plus 104 to plus 109. That number on St. Louis, with 8 to 8.5 being the total. On the 8, over is minus 120, the under is even, and on the 8.5, the under is minus 120, and the over is even. For the Brew Crew, I did set them at a minus 122, so right around like minus 117, minus 120. I'm on trusting them on the money line. Now, for Quinn Pricer, he needs to do a better job of not giving up the walks, as that has been relatively rough for this team, as he's got an ERA of a 365, but I feel he's been more around a 421, not because he's given up the deep ball. He's only given up 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but 3.8 walks per 9 innings, only 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, so that's a little bit of an issue. Credit to him for inducing the soft contact, but the fact that he's given up 1 or 2 runs at each out of his last 4 starts, I just don't think is necessarily sustainable sustainable. And he's backed up by a bullpen that's hovering right around 20th in the big leagues in terms of ERA, as they were expecting to get really good innings out of these guys like Yo Pie, Elvis Piero, were rock solid last season. None of these guys are currently with the big league team, so that's been an issue. Now, Abner Uribe has been a little bit of a Swiss Army knife guy who's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. I've been very impressed by him. And then you've got Trevor McGill, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. He's been able to do a rock solid job. Rob Zanowski, in a small sample size, has been pretty good for this team as well, but you still have someone like your Grant Anderson that you don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him. They have to trade away Aaron Savali, and that was a little bit rough to say the least, and it's a case where with this Milwaukee Brewers, it's just a little bit touch and go, and that's the way that it is with the lineup as well. So you've got plenty of guys that are actually giving you an on-base percentage that I would say is hovering in the neighborhood about a 335 to a 350, as you've got Isaac Collins who's there, Bryce Terang, Rhys Hoskins, William Contreras, and then with Terang, Sal Frelick, you're able to throw in there as well, Jackson Chourio and Christian Yelich all give you a double-figure amount of stolen bases, but you do have a team that has been lacking a little bit of power recently. Yelich is up to 13 home runs, but when he's not hitting for power, this team is not really hitting for a lot of power. Jackson Chourio's up to 12 bombs this season, but he's only giving you a 282 on base. Rhys Hoskins, to his credit, doing a nice job being able to move the line, but then you've got Joey Ortiz along with Caleb Durbin in the infield that have really not been able to hit for a lot of average. And on the flip side, you do have a St. Louis Cardinals team that's very similar. The Cardinals are a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at bat and a per game basis, with having their leader in home runs currently supplying 8. That'd be a few guys in Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar. And for Nootbaar, he and Wilson Contreras, they both have been able to give you between about a 330 to a 340 on base. You've had Brandon Donovan do a great job moving the line, hitting at 300, and then Alec Burleson is up to hitting nearly a 300 as well. Big X factor is the fact that Ivan Herrera, who spent a lot of time on the injury list, is back. 7 home runs, 380 on base. But that said, this is a St. Louis Cardinals team that they do leave a little bit of something to be desired with their lineup, and the bullpen has been leaving a lot to be desired because Ryan Helsley has blown 5 saves already this season. He has really went down the toilet bowl. You've got John King posting up like a 365 ERA. Jojo Romero, after a rough start to the season, has been solid, and then Kyle Leahy, Phil Matone, Steven Matz, a little bit more of a long guy, all supplying a sub 250 ERA. That's pretty rock solid, but I always have my question marks with Miles Michaelis, as he does a nice job in terms of inducing some soft contact, but boy, oh boy, does this guy give up a lot of contact. 448 ERA, feeling depends more around to 337 because he is only giving up the 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, but 5.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. The ball's just in play so much against him. 3+ runs allowed in each out of his last 3 starts. I do think that the Brewers are able to do a nice job of squaring up, and I do think the Pricer sees some regression as well. Semi-total at an 8.7, so I like the over and the Brewers up to a -122 on the money line. 9-7, 908 on the betting board. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on the road against the Chicago Cubs as Colin Ray says hip hip hooray to another start, and Mitch Keller is on the bump for the Pirates, and the Pirates currently find themselves between +144 to +150 underdogs. -162 to -176 is that number on the Cubs. No run lines or totals because, well, that's always set in the AM based on the Wrigley Field win, but I've got my handicap. I did set my total at a 7.8, so a 7.5 or less. I'm going to be looking at the over, and an 8 or higher. I'm going to be taking a look at this total under if you're looking at the conditions that we're expecting for Sunday. Winds blowing in at right around about 8, maybe even 9 miles per hour, so not necessarily the world's greatest hitting conditions, but you do have a guy, Mitch Keller, that has been shaky to say the least throughout his career when he's been on the road. As for Mitch Keller, when he's been at home, he's been able to do a really good job of being able to keep the ball in the yard. He's giving up for his career at home right around about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. That goes up to closer to about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings when he is away from home, and that ERA of a 4.10 that he has at home goes up to a 5.04 when he's away from home. So a little bit of question mark there. It is a Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen that has been looking a little bit better recently. David Benner not pooping the Benner quite as much. You've got Dennis Santana be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Caleb Ferguson has been rock solid as well, but still a 4.05 bullpen ERA that is in the bottom half of the big leagues. And for the Chicago Cubs, this team has been absolutely surging with regards to this bullpen. If you take a look at things ever since May 1st, they have been by far the number 1 team in all of baseball in terms of bullpen ERAs. They are currently supplying a less than 145 bullpen ERA in this time span. You've had Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomeranz, Brad Keller all be able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Ryan Presley, after a relatively relatively rough start to the season. He's come back. He's been looking relatively solid for the team as well. Porter Hodge being on the injured list has not hurt the team whatsoever because he was rough to begin the season. Heck, Chris Flexen has been a really good long guy as well. And for the Chicago Cubs, this team is right at the top of the big league level in terms of their overall runs per game, as you've got 5 different guys. I was going to say quartet plus 1, but that said, a quartet plus 1 of guys with at least 11 home runs. Michael Busch, Pico Armstrong, Dansby Swanson, C.A. Suzuki, Kyle Tucker. In the case of Tucker, he's been able to do a nice job giving you a 387 on base. Cole Armstrong is hitting for about a 270. Say Suzuki is hitting at 265. So these guys, even when they're not hitting home runs, are moving the line. And you've got guys around them that are doing a good job of getting on base. Miguel Amaya is hitting at 250. You've had Ian Happ give you a 340 on base. Nico Horner is hitting about a 285 as well. So these guys have been able to do a really good job of being able to slug the ball out, and they're getting more than just solo shots. They're getting 2 and 3 run shots. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, this team continues to be about 29th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and you're just not getting a lot at the bottom of the fold. As Oneil Cruz has been rock solid. 13 home runs, about a 340 on base. You could do better than a 221 average, but you're still getting some production there. You've got Ryan Reynolds and Andrew McCutchen combining for 15 home runs. Reynolds hitting at 225 needs to be worked on, but you've got McCutchen who's been able to give you about a 350 or so on base, and even though some of these guys have looked a little bit better recently, you just have a cavalcade of different guys hitting a 220 or lower. As you got that with Spencer Horowitz, Henry Davis, Tommy Pham, Emmanuel Valdez, Alexander Canario, Jared Triolo. All these guys having a really rough go of it. So, yeah, the bottom of the lineup is just not producing a lot for the Pirates, and I do think that is going to be a bit of an issue moving forward, and I do think that for Colin Ray, he's going to be able to go out there and give a relatively nice start. Not a guy that's some sort of strikeout artist or anything like that. He's only getting in the neighborhood about 7 to 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but always does a solid job of keeping things out in front of him in terms of walks. Has been giving up a little bit more hard contact than what you'd like, giving up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, 392 ERA, 434 fielding dependent, and enters on a bit of a rough stretch. Has given up 4+ runs in 3 of his last 4 starts, but again, that wind blowing in, I think it's going to be paramount for him. So 7.5 or less, like the over, 8 or higher, the under, even though we don't have run line prices out. I am pretty sure that will be in on the Cubs run line. I set mine at a -112, so we'll be looking Cubs run line to go along with this 7.5 or less to the over, 8 or higher to the under. 909, 910 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks playoffs to the Slam Diego Padres. Nick Pivetta is on the bump for the Pods. Merrill Kelly is on the bump for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are between -127 to -140 favorites, between +110 to a +117. That number on Slam Diego. 8.5 is the total. Over is -115, and the under is -105. With the Diamondbacks, I did set them as a favorite here of -124. So right now we're seeing more like a -127. If we can get down a few pennies, I would be looking at that money line. If you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Arizona Diamondbacks, by the way, this is on a FanDuel opener. You're finding a +158 out there, and if we could get closer to about a +166, I'd be willing to take a shot there. So we're in a little bit of wait and see mode right now, but with Merrill Kelly, he just has always been so much better when he has been at home rather than when he's been on the road. For Merrill Kelly does a nice job in terms of not giving up the deep ball as much, but it also goes back to the swing and miss stuff as well. I'm not quite sure why, but Merrill Kelly just has a little bit of better stuff in general when he's at home rather than when he's on the road, and he's been pretty solid this year. He had that one bad start against the New York Yankees towards the beginning part of the season, but 8.7 strikeouts to 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 318 ERA, closer to 322 fielding dependent, and did have those 2 starts against the Nationals and the Cardinals to end May where he gave up 4+ runs, but first 2 starts here in this month, 13 scoreless innings, so you absolutely love to see that. And getting more into the specifics of his home and road splits, overall for his career, 320 home ERA, giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings at home. On the road, he's giving up closer to about 1.3 to 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, 437 ERA, so very much a night and day difference there. And for Nick Pivetta, you want to talk about a guy who has been completely different when he has been away from home rather than at home. This is the guy. As for Pivetta, he did get lit up like a Christmas tree in his last start against the LA Dodgers, but even with that 240 home ERA at home, he has given up about 0.65 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, he is giving up well north of 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, and that goes up to a 494 ERA. So very much a big difference there. Now, I will say, for Pivetta and the Padres, they've got a much better bullpen. As you got Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, Adri Matahon, along with Jason Adam, Robert Suarez. All these guys give you sub 350 ERA. In the case of Morahone, along with Matsui, they're able to be nice multi-inning guys as well. And then on the flip side, you got yourself a Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen that has been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. They had to put back on the injured list Kendall Graveman. They've been dealing with the A.J. Puckett injury all season long, no longer having Corbin Burns in the starting rotation, or it's the overall depth of this overall pitching staff as well. So it's a little bit of an issue. So you're probably going to be seeing a little bit more of guys like Tommy Henry and company in long roles. Dre Jamison, I think, is a guy that's probably going to get recalled sooner rather than later. And then you got Shelby Miller, who's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. He's been rock solid. Jalen Beeks, 3 ERA is a bit of a long guy, but Juan Murillo and company have just not been able to cut it. And for the Diamondbacks, they've had to slug their way to victory. It's a top 7 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. And Eugenio Suarez, along with Corbin Carroll, a combined 39 home runs entering the day on Saturday. For Suarez, not hitting for a lot of average at a 230, but Carroll is able to give you a 340 on base, 10 plus stolen bases as well. Josh Naylor is hitting a 300, and then Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 12 home runs at his first 150 at-bats, north of a 4 on base. Got Gabriel Moreno, Pavin Smith, both hitting between about a 270 to 275. Geraldo Perdomo is giving you about a 360 on base as well. So, I mean, you've got these guys doing a nice job being able to slug the ball out. Even Tim Tebow, when he's gotten at-bats, he's been pretty rock solid as well. So, it's an interesting circumstance. If we can get more like a minus 124 or so on the money line of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and when it's all said and done, I do think that there's a good propensity that we might be able to, or if we can get a plus 125 or higher on the Padres, we'll be looking there. So, this will be based on a little bit of overnight line movement. And with regards to this total, set my end at an 8.7. I'm going to be in on the over. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. The LA Dodgers are going to be playing the San Francisco Giants. Kyle Harrison is on the bump for the Giants, and Dustin May hopes that it's May Day. As for the Giants, they're anywhere between plus 149 to a plus 158, and between minus 170 to minus 182. That number on the Dodgers, the total on this game is 7. Overs between minus 115 to minus 125. Unders anywhere between even and plus 105. I'm seeing a minus 105 out there as well. And if you're looking to lay the run line of the LA Dodgers, it is a plus 112, and I was willing to go up to a minus 102. So I'm going to be looking at that Dodgers run line. I just have my question marks with Kyle Harrison. I was talking about it with Wiliam Boor in the last segment. I mean, he's got a little bit of upside as a pitcher that does have some good heat. He's a guy that is able to do a nice job with his off-speed stuff and everything like that. Just has not put it together at the big league level. He's got 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but is giving up about 3.4 walks per 9 innings, 456 ERA, 430 fielding, dependent with 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's made 4 total starts thus far this season, and in those starts he has given up a grand total of 10 runs thus far, but he hasn't gone deep in those starts as well. He's only went a combined 18 and a third inning, so I mean, that's an ERA that's hovering right around about a 450 or so do have a few question marks there. And for Dustin May, it feels like he's been getting better and better with every start, because he's had a lot of major surgery over the last few seasons, came up as a big red fireballer, and now he's been able to really just hone it in recently. Now, the walks have been an issue. 2+ walks from 4 of his last 5 starts. Did give up 6 runs in his last start against the San Diego Padres, but 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 446 ERA, but that is backed up by a 411 fielding dependent. And for May, he has been able to pitch much better when he has been at home rather than when he has been away from home. As for Mr. Dustin May, when he's out there in Los Angeles, 297 ERA compared to 594 away from home. And for this Dodgers team, I do think that they are going to be able to take it to Harrison, because you've got a lot of guys that are just able to slug the cover off the ball. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is doing Shohei Ohtani things, north of a 375 on base, 23 plus home runs. He has been amazing. But then you look a little bit further down the line, you've got Teoscar Hernandez, who's actually been the team leader with regards to RBI thus far this season, as he's been able to do a nice job of being able to give you about 40 plus RBI. He's sitting at 265. Freddie Freeman along with Will Smith are getting jiggy with it. Both of these guys north of 400 on base. Max Muncy over the last 3 days has given you north of a 350 on base. He's starting to find it as well. And the Giants, they do leave a little bit of something to be desired at the plate. As for the Giants, obviously, they do have a little bit of a better home and road split. They're averaging more like 4.5 runs per game at home because they play in such a pitcher-friendly ballpark. But that said, you've had Willie Adames be able to give you 3 home runs over the past week or so. That's a good sign, because he has really been struggling after they inked him to a lot of money, hitting at 204. So they needed that. Eloy Ramos, Matt Chapman, Wilmer Flores have all been able to give you between 11 and 12 home runs. But you've had Matt Chapman be in and out of the lineup. He's now on the injured list, so that's been a little bit rough. So you've been seeing a lot of Casey Schmidt over the last few days, and he had that error that cost you the game on Thursday against the Colorado Rockies. Ramos has been able to about a 290, and then you've got Mr. Jung-Ho Lee moving the line, hitting about a 270, but he, along with Mikey Stremski, who don't necessarily have a ton of power, they've been regressing a little bit as the season has gone along. You need a bit more out of Lamont Wade Jr., Luis Matos, along Patrick Bailey. These guys have been all sorts of rough, and for Lamont Wade Jr., they just decided to cut bait with him. so that's a little bit of an issue. And you just take a look at what you're able to get out of this Giants bullpen. That's where the saving grace is for this team. Number one in the big leagues with regards to bullpen ERA. Tyler Rogers, Camilo Duvall, Eric Miller, Randy Rodriguez all supplying a sub 175 ERA. Tristan Beck has been a relatively good long guy as they had to move Hayden Birdsong into the starting lineup. Spencer Bivens has been able to give you some good long innings as well. And for the LA Dodgers, this has been around a league average bullpen with regards to ERA, but Kirby Yates along with Michael Kopech coming off the injured list, that helps him out a little bit. Now Tanner Scott has been just an absolute disaster for this team. They need a little bit more out of him. He's been supplying nearly a 4 ERA, but Jack Dreyer has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Ben Casparis probably going to be utilized a little bit more as a starter moving forward with all the injuries, but I do think that the Dodgers go out there, get the job done by multiple runs. Semi-total 9.3, so I like the over and the Dodgers on the run line. 9-13, 9-14 on the betting board. The LA Angels hit the road. They're facing off against the Baltimore Orioles as Cade Povich is on the bum for the O's and Yusei Kikuchi. I say he's starting for the Angels. 9 is the total. Over is between -110 to -115. Under is between -105 to -110. -123 to -132 is that number on Baltimore. +105 to a +115 is that number on Los Angeles. And with Los Angeles, I set them at a +111, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on their money line. I just have not been impressed by Cade Povich at all. Like, he came up with some promise last season, but I mean, right now he's supplying a 5.46 ERA, fielding dependent. He's more around a 4.24, but I mean, even though he's getting 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, he's giving up 3.2 walks per 9 innings. He is giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings as well, so very much less than savory to say the least, and he has given up 5+ runs in 2 out of his last 3 starts, and both of those starts have been at home. And for Cade Povich, it's really interesting because last year he was a whole heck of a lot better when he was in Baltimore rather than when he was on the road. This season, a 7.59 home ERA, and for Yusei Kikuchi, he's doing for some regression as well. 2.92 ERA. This is not long lasting. 4.30 fielding dependent. He's been giving up 4.8 walks per 9 innings and is getting 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Second lowest mark of his career ever since his rookie year with the Seattle Mariners. Now, to his credit, he's held down the fort and given up 5 runs in the last 5 starts. He had 4+ walks in 4 of those starts, though. Like, you're not going to be able to get away with that if you're Yusei Kikuchi if you continue this. And he does go up against an Orioles lineup that is in the bottom 10 in the big leagues with regards to runs per game. You've got Gunnar Henderson along Jackson Holiday starting to step up for the team, both hitting in that neighborhood about a 270 to 275. Both have been able to give you 8 home runs apiece, and Ellie Rushman is looking a little bit better, but still hitting about a 233 with not a ton of power. Ramon Laureano has actually done a nice job moving the line. He's hitting about a 265, but now you're looking at Gary Sanchez, who's been rough this season. Kobe Mayo, who's been rough. All of a sudden, Dylan Carlson is starting to hit for the team. He's sitting north of a 240, so yay, verily there. And Cedric Mullins right now leads the team in home runs, despite the fact that he spent some time on the injury list. Tim Bomb's hitting at 233, so that's an issue for the LA Angels. All or nothing team. You've got a bunch that is in the top 3 in the big leagues in terms of home runs per at bat and a bottom 4 team with regards to batting average. As Zach Neto has been able to give you double-figure amount of bombs. He's up to a 320 on base. He's like the only home run hitter for this team other than Mike Trout, who's up to a 311 on base. That's giving you north of a 290 on base. Like, Joe Adell is actually up to a 300 on base. I will give him a little bit of credit. He was able to have a nice series thus far for the Angels. He's got a double-figure amount of bombs, but I mean, Taylor Ward, 18 home runs, but he's got a 268 on base. You've had in and out of the lineup Ore Soler, and he's only been able to give you a 285 on base. They've been mixing and matching without him last few days. Luis Renifo did go deep yesterday, but 2 home runs and a 249 on base is just not. Logan O'Hoppe, 15 home runs. He's only aiming for about a 264 on base as well. And these are 2 bullpens that have been really, really bad for the Angels. Bottom 3 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Somehow, some way, they're getting really good innings out of Hunter Strickland, which I don't know where that's coming from, but Ryan Zefrian, Brock and Roll Burke, Hector Neris, all posting up north of a 4.5 ERA. Kenley Jansen has been rough as well. Reed Detmers has been a little bit better, but overall for the season has still been a struggling. And then on the flip side for the Baltimore Orioles, Felix Bautista is giving you some relatively rock-solid innings, but then you get into the likes of a Gregory Soto, who's actually looked a little bit better recently, down to a 3.65 ERA, but Seranthony Dominguez, Ynier Cano, these guys posting up north of a 4 ERA. Andrew Kittredge, getting him out the injured list, should be able to help out this bullpen a little bit, but still, this has been a relatively rough team to say the least, and I do think that with regards to this one, you do see the Baltimore Orioles have their struggles against the LA Angels. I do think that both of these teams are giving up some runs. Semi-total 9.1. I like the over. And with the Angels, I'm going to take a +112 or higher on that money line. 9.15, 9.16 on the main board. The New York Yankees are on the road facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Brian Bayo is on the bump for the Sox, and Max Fried is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees between -179 to -194 favorites, +158 to a +165. That number on Boston, 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between -105 to a -115. And if you're looking to lay a run half, right now with the New York Yankees. Find that at a minus 118. If we could get more like a minus 114, I'd be willing to take a shot on that run line. Currently, I'm only seeing the opener at FanDuel, and FanDuel always has like the worst run lines. I'm going to call it what it is. So should probably be able to get that minus 114 when it's all said and done, and I would be willing to take that because Max Fried has been so dominant with the New York Yankees this far this season. How about him supplying a 184 ERA? He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in all but one of his starts this far this season, and the lone start where he did on the road against the LA Dodgers. Very forgivable. 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, only 1.8 walks and 0.6 home runs allowed per 9. So he's crossing his T's, he's dotting his I's, he's not hurting himself at all. He has been tremendous. And for Brian Bayo, he's a sinker ball pitcher, so he's able to get a lot of ground balls, but at the same time, I do think that he's going to have himself a little bit of issue moving forward, maintaining this 396 ERA, 457 fielding dependent, 6.4 strikeouts at 4.3 walks per 9 innings. Good at inducing soft contact. He's allowed less than a home run per 9 innings and has 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in each of his last 4 starts, but he was facing off against some relatively rough lineups in that stretch as well. He does get the backing of a bullpen that's been pretty rock solid. So Aroldis Chapman has actually been really good for the Boston Red Sox, and this is a Red Sox team that, in terms of bullpen ERA, entering in the day on Saturday, number 9 in the big leagues. Garrett Woodlock has been a nice multi-inning guy. He's giving you a sub 375 ERA. You've been able to get some good innings out of Brandon Bernardino, though he's starting to regress a little bit. Greg Weissert has been rock solid, and for the Yankees, not having Luke Weaver out there has been very bad, but you do have Yori De Los Santos along with Fernando Cruz, who've been able to give you a sub 35 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively good innings as well out of some of these mix and match guys as well. Like you've had Tim Hill be able to do a solid job for this team, but I don't have any faith whatsoever in Ian Hamilton. Jonathan Loaisiga has been a little bit hit or miss. And then with regards to this Red Sox lineup, you do have Weiler Abreu and Rafael Devers combined for 27 home runs this season. And Devers, 405 on base. He's been good there. Jaron Duran is starting to pick it up. He's hitting for about a 270. Carlos Narvaez, not a ton of power, but he's been able to hit about a 280 for the team. And Christian Campbell has looked a little bit better over the last week or so after it was rough for him. Trevor Story has looked a little bit better over the last few days. 9 home runs for the season, but 274 on base. Not necessarily so great there. But again, you've been seeing a little bit of improvement out of him. And then for the New York Yankees, this is one of the Death Star lineups of the big leagues. They've been able to be a top 4 team with regards to runs per game. They're doing this all without Giancarlo Stanton, by the way, as Aaron Judge is just putting the team on his back. 26 home runs at a 485 on base. Just unreal. Paul Goldschmidt, 370 on base. That's regressed a little bit, but still doing a good job, move a line. And then you've got quite a few guys between about a 320 to a 330 on base. Cody Bellinger, Anthony Volpe, Yasan Dominguez, along with Jazz Chisholm. Jazz Chisholm, 9 home runs at 131 at bats. And then Ben Rice, Trent Grisham, combined 25 home runs. Not aiming for a ton of average, but Grisham about a 350 on base. So very interesting circumstance. I do think that Max Fried experiences a little bit of regression here, but I do think that the Yankees get to bail. I set my total at 8.6. I like the over, and at a plus 114 or better, look at that Yankees run line. 917, 918 on the betting board. It is the Athletics on the road facing off against the Kansas City Royals. Noah Cameron is on the bump for the Royals, and Jeffrey Springs goes for the A's. The A's are an underdog of between plus 135 to a plus 145, anywhere between minus 154 to a minus 165. That number on Kansas City. 9 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even, and I set the Royals at a minus 183. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line with Noah Cameron. He's been able to do a solid job of just being able to induce some soft contact. Did have a little bit of a rough go of it in his last start against the New York Yankees. Gives up 6 runs in 5 2/3 innings. He got baptized by Aaron Judge towards the beginning part of that game, and he overall has still been pretty solid. He does have signs of regression, though. I mean, a 217 ERA to a 401 fielding dependent. That's a little bit concerning, as he's only getting about 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but doesn't hurt himself. 2.7 walks, 1 home run allowed per 9 innings, so pretty good at being able to hold down the fourth there. And then you do have a guy in Jeffrey Springs who's been a whole lot better when he's been on the road rather than at home, as with regards to Mr. Springs, he's got an ERA that is well north of a 5.5 when he's at home, and he has been getting just absolutely torched when he's been at home, giving up a 1.9 home runs per 9 innings at home compared to a 3.95 ERA and 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings on the road. He's been not having as many swings and misses this season. He's only getting about 7.5 to 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but overall has been able to do a solid job holding down the fort when he's been away from home, as Sacramento's just really messing with these A's pitchers. And for the A's, this has been a very, very brutal and rough bullpen, to say the least, as currently they are dead last in the big leagues with a 6.11 ERA. Mason Miller is just not having a good year. He's posting up north of 5 ERA, but it's not just him. It's pretty much everyone everyone in this bullpen. You look at guys that have seen at least 10 innings of action and are not currently in the starting rotation for this team, and you've got one guy with a sub 4.25 ERA in Hogan Harris. Mitch Spence would be that as well, but now he's back in the starting rotation, so there's that aspect of things. But Tyler Ferguson, about a 4.80 ERA. Grant Holman is up to a 5 ERA. You just have not been able to get a lot out of Oswaldo Bido as a starter or as a long reliever, so you got a lot of guys that are testy there, and for the Athletics, you do still have a relatively rock-solid lineup. You've been able to get a combined 29 home runs out of Tyler Soderstrom, along with Brett Rooker. Rooker is giving you about a 350 on base. Soderstrom, a 340 on base. Jacob Wilson is continuing to be tremendous. 365 average with 8 home runs and a 4 on base. He's starting to take a few more walks. He has really been able to put it together. Miguel Andujar being on the injury list is rough, but Luis Rios has picked it up, 340 on base. The offense is not the issue for this team, although that is very much the issue with the Kansas City Royals. How about 3.1 runs per game at home this far this season? That is dead last in the big leagues. Now, Vinny Pasquantino, 10 home runs at a 275 average. That's rock solid. Bobby Witt Jr., for any other player standards, this is pretty solid. He's hitting for about a 275, 8 home runs with 21 stolen bases, but you just expect a little bit more out of Bobby Witt Jr., and then you've got the likes of Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell, Freddie Fermin, the backup catcher, only between about a 255 to a 265. Jonathan India is starting to move the line a little bit, but 3 home runs is an issue, and Salvador Perez, 273 on base with 6 home runs. He just has not been able to cut it, to say the least, but Royals are in the top half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Now they've got Lucas Ursich off the injured list as well. He and Carlos Estevez, a really good 8th and 9th inning duo, both posting up a sub-2 ERA. And then Daniel Lynch, Steven Cruz, Taylor Clark have been able to be nice arms in that bullpen as well, sub-3.25 ERAs as well. So I do think that even though Noah Cameron gives up quite a bit of contact, he keeps the ball in the yard, and I do think that the Royals find a way to get the job done. With the Royals, I'm actually going to be willing to go run line with them because I do think that they get into this A's bullpen. I set mine at a plus 107, at a plus 125, which is what I'm seeing the opener at. We'll take a shot on that Royals run line, and I do like this 9 under. I set my total at 8.3 as we go to 9:19, 9:20 on the betting board. The Minnesota Twins are on the road against the Houston Astros as it is Mr. Brandon Walter on the bum for the Astros, and Simeon Woods Richardson goes for Minnesota. Minnesota, an underdog between plus 108 to plus 115, anywhere between minus 123 to a minus 135. That number on Houston with 8.5 the total, over and under both at minus 110, and set the Astros at a minus 140. I'm going to be willing to fire in on the money line for Walter. He's only made a few starts as far this season, but in the starts that he's made, he's actually been very rock solid for the Astros. He's made 2 starts, and right now he has given up a whopping 2 runs in 11 innings. Now, I don't know how long lasting this is going to be, as he last got called up to the big league level, I believe, in 2023 with Boston. He only made a few appearances for them, but if you look at what he did with the Sugarland-based Cowboys, 9.3 strikeouts and 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Small sample size, didn't really pitch a ton of innings, but a sub-225 ERA. So pretty impressive there. And you got a guy in Woods Richardson who it's been rough for him thus far this season. Started out the season on the big league roster. He got sent down to the minor league level, and then he gets promoted back up to the big league level. And in his first start, gives up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned to the Texas Rangers, who have been awful on offense this year. About a 5.74 ERA, giving up 1.7 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's relatively league average, but now you have to rely upon a Minnesota Twins bullpen that, overall for the season, it's been relatively rock solid, but we're really starting to see the regression with them. They're now at 15th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I do think that they're better than this. Danny Kaluma's fresh off the injury list. He has only given up 1 earned run thus far this season. Yohan Adon is one of the better closers that you're finding in the big leagues. He's been posting up a sub-2 ERA. Brock and Roll Stewart, along with Louis Varland, give you a sub-3 ERA, are pretty solid as well. And for the Twins, this team is right around about league average in terms of runs per game. Byron Buxton, Trevor Larnach have both been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. Both of these guys, they command 21 home runs. Byron Buxton is about a 340 with regards to his on base. You've got a lot of guys for this roster that have been okay at being a move line, like Ty France, along with as well Ryan Jeffers. Throw in there Harrison Bader, about a 338 to a 348 on base. Willie Castro starting to give you a bit more. He's up to a 360 on base. He's been able to give you 7 home runs, but not a lot of power in general. Matt Wallner, since coming off the injured list, has been relatively rough. And on the flip side, this has been a Houston Astros team that has actually been in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. But you do have a little bit more now out of Isaac Paredes. 15 home runs and a 350 on base. Jose Altuve is up to 10 home runs. Over the last 30 days, he's been hitting darn near 300. Jeremy Pena, .333 average, 9 home runs. So you've got the top of the lineup doing their part, but the bottom of the lineup still a little bit suspect. You're getting guys moving the line. Like Jake Myers is hitting at .290. You got Cam Smith, Victor Caratini, both hitting about at .250. Yordan Alvarez being on the injured list has been rough, and Brandon Rogers. He wasn't good with the Rockies. He has not been good with the Astros, so it's been a little bit of an issue. But still, you've got these guys doing a solid job there, and for the Astros, this has been a top 8 team in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. We've got a lot of guys like the Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Sean Dubin, Steven Okert, Benny Sosa, who've all been able to give you sub-3 ERA, and then Josh Hader has been really good at the closers role, so I set my money line at a -140. I like the Astros on the money line, made my total at 80.7, so at the 8.5, also went on the over. 921, 922 on the betting board. The Chicago White Sox are on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers, as we know that it's going to be Aaron Savali on the bump for the White Sox. It is all to be determined who's going to be on the bump for Texas, which is a big reason why this game is presently off the board. Now, when I was looking initially, it was looking like we were going to be getting Tyler Mahle on the bump. I know that he's been dealing with a little bit of injury, and it's apparent that Nathan Eovaldi is going to be making a start sooner rather than later for the Rangers. But that said, with regards to this, I'm seeing on CBS Sports Tyler Mahle being the starter, so I set my handicap at a -207 on the Rangers, willing to go up to a -206 there. We'll be much more interested in a run line. I'd be willing to go up to a -105 with regards to a run line, plus 108 looking at the Southsiders, and then made my total at 88.1, 8 or less looking at the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. Both of these teams have had problems scoring all season long, and for the Rangers, they did put up back-to-back 16 spots, actually 2 in 3 games against the Minnesota Twins, but still, even with putting up those 32 runs in those 2 games that they were able to put it all together for the season, they entered into Saturday 26th in the league in terms of runs per game, only putting up 3.6 runs per contest. That is bottom 4 in the big leagues and second worst in the American League. And for the White Sox, nothing doing on the road for them. 2.9 runs per game. That is second worst in all of baseball. And for the White Sox, they do have reinforcements coming in. Mike Tauchman has been able to do a nice job, give you darn near 400 on base. You've had Andrew Benintendi hitting just below a 250. He's been able to give you a little bit of pop, but when Miguel Vargas and his 9 home runs is leading the way, that's a little bit of an issue for this unit. You do have a few other guys like Chase Meredith, who's been able to hit for about a 290 or so. He's been able to do a good job moving the line. Lennon Sosa hitting for a 274, but also 291 on base. That's just a little bit unacceptable. Edgar Quiero, he has a backup catcher, has been able to give you 350 on base. No home runs, but at the very least, he's getting on base. But then you've got those guys like Michael A. Taylor, Joshua Palacios, Josh Rojas. I'm looking at you, Luis Robert, all in below the middle sign of 200. And for Robert, 21 stolen bases, but 276 on base with 6 home runs. You just expect more out of him. And for the Chicago White Sox, this is a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERAs. You've had a lot of guys that have been oh so shaky. These are some struggling veterans like a Tyler Gilbert, Penn Murphy, Cam Boozer. All these guys give you north of 4.20 ERA. Brandon Eisert has been a little bit better recently, but Mike Vasil has been a really good long guy for the team. Is now needing to start, so that depletes them a little bit. Dan Altavia has actually been very good in his small sample size, and for the Texas Rangers, it's not a bullpen that's amazing. It's not necessarily one that's terrible either. In terms of bullpen ERA, this team is hovering right in the neighborhood of about 7th in the big leagues, but I do have a little bit of a tough time buying in on a few of these guys, as you've had Chris Martin really be a nice revelation for this team. He's been able to supply them with a sub-2 ERA along with Hobie Milner, but Jacob Webb continues to give you north of a 4 ERA. My guy Caleb Belsley from Mortonville, Wisconsin is starting to put it together, but still it's been a little bit hit or miss for him as well. Luke Jackson is looking a little bit better, but still, again, you've had your ups and downs with him. And for the Texas Rangers, it's been better for Jake Berger recently. I will say that. He's up to 10 home runs. He's now hitting at 230, which is big because you saw Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien, the currently injured Jock Peterson, all at 220 or lower. And since coming off the injury list, just haven't gotten a lot out of Corey Seager. 320 on base, 6 home runs at 144 at bats. He's clearly playing injured right now. Sam Haggerty has been able to move line hitting for about a 260, but you don't get any power out of him. Josh Smith, to his credit, 350 on base. He's been rock solid. And Evan Carter, since coming off the injury list, he's been able to give you some nice at bats as well, but you do have to have a lot of question mark with regards to this. And for Aaron Savali, he requests a trade from the Milwaukee Brewers after he wasn't very good with the Milwaukee Brewers this year. He started out the year on the injury list. You look at Savali, and right now he's posting up a 4.91 ERA. Vilya Pennant is more of a 5.15 153. And why would you want to get traded from the Brewers to the Chicago White Sox? That's my question for him. But I mean, he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's giving up 3 walks and is only getting 8 strikeouts per 9. Now he has to throw to a completely new catcher that he probably just met. He has, to his credit, given up 2 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 appearances. But man, I just am not really feeling it with him right now. And for Tyler Mahle, if you do indeed get him, he's been able to do a really good job in terms of just keeping the soft contact going with regards to him not necessarily give you a lot of swing and miss. He's only been able to give you about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings at 3.2 walks per 9, but he's keeping the ball in the yard, giving up a half a home run per 9 innings. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression here, and we've seen that 3+ runs allowed in 3 of his last 4 starts, including in a road start against the Chicago White Sox, but has really been doing his best work at home all season long. So, circumstance where I did set the Rangers to where I'd be willing to lay up to a -105 on this run line, plus 208 or higher. Looking at the White Sox, and then 8 or less, I'd like the over 8.5 or higher, the under. 923, 924 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners playoffs to the Cleveland Guardians as Luis Ortiz is on the bump for the Guardians, and it is supposed to be Emerson Hancock who's going to be going for the Seattle Mariners. Right now, this is a game that we saw a few places off the board starting to come on now, and the places where I'm seeing it right around about a -110 to a -115 with Seattle, about -105 to even money on Cleveland with a total of 8 unders, -120 in the overs even, and I did set my total at 7.6. I do like the under for Emerson Hancock. Well, he does have an ERA of a 5.05, fielding dependent, very much in line with that, as he's given up 1.5 home runs per 9, and he's not really getting a lot of swings and misses. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 9 out of his 11 starts thus far this season. He's been really doomed by 2 outlier starts thus far this season. Meanwhile, for Luis Ortiz, he's a nice fireball pitcher, north of 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.2 home runs and north of 4.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, and he's no longer backed up by what was a really good Cleveland Guardians bullpen of a season ago. Now, I will say this for the Cleveland Guardians, that bullpen is starting to look a little bit better. As Emmanuel Clase, he's back below a sub-3.5 ERA after a really shaky start to the season. Hunter Gaddis has given up a few runs here in the last week or so, but he continues to give you a sub-2.25 ERA. He, along with Cade Smith, both give you north of 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for Mr. Cade Smith, he has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA as well, but the likes of Tim Aaron Company just have not been amazing for the team. But what is really hurting the Cleveland Guardians, they're a bottom 7 team in the big leagues with regards to runs per game because they're just such a top-heavy lineup. Jose Ramirez has been great, 12 home runs, 390 on base. Stephen Kwan is hitting above 300. Carlos Santana, you would like a little bit more than 8 home runs, but 350 on base, but then I just have so many guys that are just not moving the line and getting on base. Nolan Jones has looked a little bit better recently, but he, Bo Naylor, Will Wilson, the currently at the minor league level, Brian Rocchio, Kyle Manzardo, owing at 212 or lower. Manzardo's up to 11 home runs, but again, a 291 on base. You just need a bit more there, and every time they give Austin Hedges at bats, man, this guy is just a complete and utter disaster. And on the flip side, you've got a Seattle Mariners team that has been a top 10 team in the big leagues with regards to runs per game, despite the fact that if you look at ballpark factors, Seattle suppresses offense more than any other ballpark out there in all of baseball. So you've got Julio Rodriguez, who's really starting to heat up. 10 home runs, hitting north of a 260. All right, Polanco has hit a little bit of a rough patch, but he's still giving you a 265, 11 bombs out of him. And Rowdy Tellez, not hitting for any average whatsoever. 257 on base, but 11 home runs and 59 at-bats. He has got, I believe, 34 hits as far this season, 11 of them being for homers, so he's been very much all or nothing for the team. But then you've got Randy Arozarena, not hitting for average, but again, he's able to give you a 350 on base. Big dumper Cal Raleigh has been stuck on 26 home runs for about a week or so, but he's been able to do a rock-solid job there as well. And J.P. Crawford, nearly 400 on base for the Seattle Mariners. It's been a pretty pedestrian bullpen if you look at the overall numbers, but the top-end guys have been really good, as Matt Brash, he has yet to give up a run thus far this season. Andres Munoz at the closer spot, a sub-150 ERA. Now you've got Jackson Cowers coming to the bullpen. He's looked pretty solid, along Gabe Spire. Both give you a sub-250 ERA, and I do think that for Hancock, he gives a good start and he's able to get the job done for Seattle. I did set this money line at a -133, so like Seattle on the money line, and like this 8 under, set my total 7.6, 925, 926 on the card. You got the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road. They're facing off against the Detroit Tigers. Sawyer Gibson Long is on the bump for the Tigers, and Wade Miley hopes to have a party out there in Detroit. As for Miley and the Reds, they're between +144 to a +153, and between -167 to -178. That number on Detroit, 8.5 to 9 is the total. On the 9, the unders -120, and the overs even on the 8.5. Over is -120, and the under is even. And if you're looking to lay a run right now with the Detroit Tigers, you're going to be able to get that at a nice +116 number, and that's one that I'm going to be willing to take. I set my run line price at a -107 for Gibson Long. Only 2 appearances thus far this season, 8 1/3 innings. He's allowed 4 runs. Neither here nor there. When he was at the big league level for a small sample size a few seasons ago, before having a little bit of injury and having a little bit of strife, he was very rock solid, and he was getting about 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So I do think that he's going to be able to find that form sooner rather than later. And for Wade Miley, 7 runs allowed in 7 innings pitched as far this season, and I wish I could put it any other way. It just appears as though this guy is washed. I mean, it's never been a case where he's gotten a whole bunch of strikeouts or anything like that, but I mean, it felt like he was old 8 years ago when he was in the big leagues. So, I mean, man, he's gotten thus far in his 7 innings, I believe, 2 strikeouts thus far, so that's a little bit less than tremendous, and it's not like he's backed up by an amazing bullpen. Now, the Reds don't have the world's worst bullpen in the big leagues, but still, 20th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Alexis Diaz had all sorts of issues this year. They had to send him down to the minor league level. Ian Gabot, don't you know, he's got north of a 4.5 ERA. You've been able to get some good innings out of the likes of a Tony Santillan, Taylor Rogers. These guys have been able to give you a sub 3.5 ERA, and then you've had Lyon Richardson actually be a really good long guy. He's been able to give you a sub 2 ERA, but Emilio Pagan is a guy that I just don't trust. He gives up a bunch of home runs. And for the Reds, speaking of home runs, you've only got one guy on the roster with north of 8 bombs. Elliot De La Cruz, 15 home runs, 350 on base. He's been rock solid. And TJ Friedel, along with Matt McClain, have 8 home runs apiece, but McClain is hitting a .186. You just need a little bit more there. Santiago Espinal gives you no power. He's only hitting for about a 294 on base. You need a little bit more there. Spencer Steer at 289 on base with 5 home runs. You just expect a little bit more out of him. Gavin Lux, along with Friedel, I mentioned before, both are for 360 on base, and Friedel's up to about a 385 on base. So credit where it's due, and Christian Encarnacion Strain has been in and out of the lineup all season long, but just not moving the line for this team. And flip side, you do have yourself a bunch in the Detroit Tigers who have been able to do a really good job of being able to put back to ball. They're up to the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Trio of guys, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, and Spencer Torkelson, have all been able to give you at least 13 home runs this season. Torkelson up to about a 345 on base, and these are not solo shots because you've got guys in front of them getting on base. Javi Baez has been able to about a 280. Zach McKinstry, 360 on base. Cole Keith, after a miserable start to the season, he's up to a 340 on base. Dylan Dingler gives you a little bit of power. He's hitting a 275. Wencio Perez off the injured list. He's been at about a 280. So these guys are really doing a nice job of mixing and matching. And since the All-Star break of the 2024 season, this team is number 1 in the American League in terms of bullpen ERA. Brian Herter, who has served as an opener, Tommy Canley, Chase Lee, Brandon Hennefy. These guys give you a sub 325 ERA. I've been rock solid. Tyler Holton has been a little bit rough for the team, but all in all, they've been able to do a nice job holding their own and getting the job done. And I do think that the Tigers get the job done here. I'm willing to take that run line at plus money. I did sub by total at 9.3, as I do think that Gibson Long gives up some runs, but I do think that the Tigers get to Wade Miley. So like that over and the run line of Detroit, 927, 928 on the card. The Toronto Blue Jays are on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Jose Barrios is on the bump for the Jays, and Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler's on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies minus 170 to minus 182 favorites, plus 149 to a plus 158 is that number on Toronto, and 7.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110. And on my money line price, I did set the Phillies at a minus 194, but if you're looking to lay a run half, you're going to be able to get some nice plus money here on the Philadelphia Phillies at a plus 116. I was willing to take plus 104 or better for Jose Barrios. Has always had those demonstrative home and road splits, and for Barrios, I will say, he's actually been a little bit better on the road rather than at home thus far this season, so that has been very strange to see, to say the least. But I am 338 ERA, but he does have a 436 fielding dependent. He's given up 3.5 walks per 9 innings. That is one of the highest marks that we've seen really since his rookie year. He's only getting about 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Feels like it's been smoke and mirrors to give up just 1 run over the course of his last 3 starts, including 6 innings of 1-run ball against the Phillies at home a few weeks ago. But still, I do think that there's going to be regression there. And for Zach Wheeler, he spent a little bit of time away on the paternity list. Congratulations to him. First start out, gives up a home run in like the first or second inning against the Cubs, and then he dials it in. 6 innings, gives up 1 run. Zach Wheeler has been the real deal all season long, giving up only about 1 home run to 11 punch-outs per 9 innings. He's only given up about 2 walks per 9. I think that he goes out there and he's able to dominate, but the question is, what are you going to be able to get out of this Philadelphia Phillies bullpen? A bullpen that is in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've had Orion Kirkering really be able to pick it up. He's been able to do a nice job, giving giving you a sub-3 ERA thus far this season, but I know Jose Alvarado was your best relief piece, and he's currently suspended due to a weight loss supplement, so that's less than tremendous. And then you have like some Matt Strahm, Tanner Banks, hovering right around about 3.6 with regards to that ERA. Taijuan Walker, they're now utilizing as a bit of a long guy, but Joe Ross, Max Lazer, they've had their issues as well. But for the Philadelphia Phillies, you know what you're going to be able to get out of Kyle Schwarber. One of the best hitters in all of baseball, 375 on base, 22 home runs thus far this season. They're having to deal with Bryce Harper being on the injured list, which means that nobody outside Schwarber entered in the day on Saturday with a worth of 7 home runs, with Max Kepler and Trey Turner both having 7 bombs. And I mean, for Turner and so many others, they're doing a nice job of getting on base. Turner, a 360 on base. He's been able to give you 19 stolen bases. Alec Baum, Nick Castellanos, both hitting about a 285. You've got Armando Sosa, who's been able to move the line as well, but JT Realmuto has been having its issues. Kepler, I mentioned before, is hitting about a 215, so you need a little bit more there, but I do think that for Barrios, he gives up some runs on the road. And I will say for the Blue Jays, this has actually been a very good bullpen for the team. They are in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They have found a way to be able to mix and match. Eric Lauer has been utilized as a little bit more of a bulk guy, but I mean, someone like Paxton Schultz has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA since they picked him up. Brandon Little has been able to come up big. He's been giving you about a 2 or so ERA. Uriel Rodriguez is able to fill multiple innings with a sub 3 ERA as well. So very interesting circumstance. I did set my total at a 7.9 or the 7.5. I think we've gone just a scotch too low, like the over, and I do like the Phillies on the run line, and we wrap things up with 929, 930 on the betting board. It is the Tampa Bay Rays on the road against the New York Mets, as good at Finn Canning is on the bump for the Mets, and the Boz, Shane Boz, is on the bump for the Rays, and the Rays are anywhere between plus 140 to plus 145 underdogs, and you're going to be getting the Mets anywhere between minus 160 to a minus 170. It is a total. Over is minus 115 to a minus 110. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110, and if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the New York Metropolitans, you're going to be finding that at a plus 132, and I was willing to go to a plus 112 or better. I'm going to be willing to lay this run line for Griffin Canning. I've been quite impressed by him this season. Would like to see him cut down on the walks a little bit. His walks per 9 innings rate is hovering right in that neighborhood about 4, and he only does get about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's doing a nice job holding it down. 322 ERA, closer to about a 410 fielding dependent, and yeah, I've seen a little bit of regression. 3+ runs allowed in 3 of his last 4 starts, and I do have a Tampa Bay Rays team that all of a sudden has gotten very hot with regards to their lineup. How about Jonathan Randa being able to supply north of a 400 on base? You've been able to have a pair of guys in Junior Caminero, along Brandon Lau, be able to combine for 29 home runs this season. Caminero home run 16 yesterday, but you still have the bottom of the lineup that has been rough. The likes of Matt Theus and Danny Jansen at the catcher spot, Taylor Walls, Cam Misner when he's been out there, Christopher Morel. These guys hitting at 225 or lower, a little bit less than tremendous. Jake Magnum, since coming off the injured list, has made an impact. He steals some bags. He gives you about a 340 on base. And then Josh Lau has been able to give you about a 235 as well. Now, you know that the saving grace for the Tampa Bay Rays team is always going to be the bullpen. Top 7 in the big leagues with regards to bullpen ERA, with so many guys you're able to mix and match with. Even with Hunter Biggie being on the injured list, you've got a lot of guys, I believe 5 in total, that are able to give you a sub 250 ERA. You got Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, Eric Orze, P. Fairbanks, and now they called up Ian Seymour actually closed out that game against the Boston Red Sox a few days ago. But on the flip side, you do have a Mets team that entered in the series number 2 in the big leagues with regards to their own bullpen ERA, as you've had Oscar Berzobin give you a sub 2 ERA, and he's able to fill multiple innings. You've had Jose Buto as a little bit of a long guy, be a pretty solid long reliever. He's been able to give you about a 3.20 ERA. You've been able to have Edwin Diaz along with Reed Garrett, more of the one-inning guys, also give you a sub 250 ERA. And for the Mets, this is one of the hottest offenses in all of baseball, top 18 with regards to runs per game, as you got Francisco Lindor continuing to battle through injury. 350 on base, 14 home runs. And then Brandon Nimmo, Juan Soto, 13 home runs apiece. Soto, after a very disappointing start to the season, starting to pick it up, so he'll give you that 390 on base. Pete Alonso, 17 home runs. He's giving you 400 on base. Now, bottom of the lineup with the likes of Brett Beatty, Luanel Acuna, really not giving you a ton there. Beatty has given you 7 home runs, but 271 on base. Acuna about a 290 on base. Jeff McNeil, though, he's been in a small sample size of about 120 at bats, supplying the team with a 360 on base. He's been rock solid. I do think that for the Mets, they do a nice job of being able to get to the Boz, who has been not so great thus far this season. As for the Boz, this is a man that has given up at least 3 runs in, I believe, 6 out of his last 8 starts, so that's been less than tremendous. And I like Shane Boz. I think that Shane Boz is going to be a good starter moving forward. His strikeouts per 9 rate is hovering right around about 8.3, but 1.7 home runs per 9 innings with 3.3 walks per 9 innings. It just feels like he's regressed a little bit, and I do think that the Mets get to him pretty hard here. I'm willing to take a shot on the Mets on the run line. I was willing to take a plus 112 or better. I did set my total at 8.4, so at the 8, I'm in on the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family podcast. A big thanks to one of our good friends in Wiliam Boor for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, the me does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the regular season on this podcast, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.